Sandy Jardine is an icon and a hero amongst light blue supporters and will always be remembered for everything he did for the club both on and off the pitch. While he will never be forgotten, Rangers TV's Tom Miller has released an official biography of the great man. Surrounded by some of his former teammates and good friends, the book was officially launched in a packed Ibrox Blue Room. The book delves into his illustrious career with the club, but is also fondly remembered for being a true gentleman and a Rangers great.
He was a first-class player, a great teammate. I mean, the other thing about it, Sandy's mainly known for being a right back, but Sandy could play other positions too. Midfield, he could score goals, and even I remember back to the days when we played European games, John Gregg changed the system and Sandy was a sweeper, and he was absolutely outstanding in that position as well because he was quick. He had good ability to get on the ball and play passes, and he could also mark people and also give instructions from the back about positional sense and all that type of thing. So he was absolutely first class, and I think that the recognition he's getting here from the launch of his book is thoroughly deserved.
Sandy and I are from more or less the same part of Edinburgh, maybe a mile apart, and with him getting into the team, he's a wee bit older than me, but with him getting into the team early, as a young boy I used to come through for the European nights and watch him play a long time ago. So he was someone that with getting into the team so early, I think it was something that we all sort of aspired to, if he can do it. But he was a very special player.
Class, real style, quality in the ball, all the modern phrases that come to mind, but he was just a complete footballer. Could have played anywhere in the park. Great player.
When you think back at that time, Scotland were blessed with a number of first-class players, and first time that the country had gone to a major final for a number of years, and Sandy was one of the top players, and I'm almost sure at the end of that campaign that he was in the team of the tournament. So that shows testament to his abilities as a player, and fantastic when you seen him playing and his attacking prowess as a full-back. Tremendous.
You don't get named after a stand at Ibrox if you've not got a very good legacy at this club, and he was here under some great years. He's an incredible amount of appearances for the club, and you've seen what it meant to the club when they had that 2 minutes applause a couple of years ago and how much it meant to everyone at the club. So it's great to be here tonight and obviously celebrate his legacy.
When I come back as a player in 1980 and Sandy was still here as a player, and his help then was invaluable. Coming back from England and settling into the club, and at that time the club were going through a transitional period, bringing players in and helping them settle in. So Sandy helped in that respect as well. But then coming back as a coach, and Sandy had a new position as a player liaison manager, and for me it was good as a member of staff, showing us the ropes and obviously all the traditions was at the club, the integrity of the club, and making sure that everybody was settled in and happy. And obviously when the troubles came at the club, Sandy became a major force in it, upholding the values of the club and integrity again. So for that, he's a first-class gentleman. You could never ever fault his commitment and his passion towards the club at that time.
He stuck with us when it was probably our hardest period as a football club, and you see the turnout that's here today. It's been a lot of great Rangers in the past, and people behind the scenes that are very close to him, and it's touching to hear them speak about him. And for myself, it's just a privilege to be here, and obviously be here to support the launch of Tom's book as well.
It would be fair to say that people like Sandy are just a perfect example of what it would be to be a Rangers person. And as I said through there, he stood by the club at a time when it was very difficult for us all. I don't do grey areas, I'm a black and white person, and I couldn't hide my feelings. Sandy was cleverer than that, but when he really mattered, he led that march, and it was unusual for Sandy to do something like that, but he really put himself to the front, and the club will be forever indebted to Sandy for that.
It's easy to talk about people when they're no longer with us, but he was a true gentleman. He was quiet, he was dignified, he was a class act. Wasn't loud, kept his thoughts to himself most of the time, and then lastly when he was around here, when he was back here working here, acted the same way. I think you don't always get the character you see on a football pitch is not always the character that they are off the pitch, but I think Sandy was level-headed, sensible, respectful, and above all, he was a real football person and a real Rangers man. He was a class act.
If you look out to the governed stand and see the name that's there, it's a tribute to a special man, a brilliant, noble player. The name reads Sandy Jardine, a man who made his mark with elegance and gracefulness. each week at Ibrox Park. It started at the playing fields, just a free kick from his door, with Murphy, Ross and Cruikshanks, the Saughton famous four. They'd play and play till it got dark, and underneath the lights it was obvious that this young man would reach the dizzy heights. And though hearts were keen, the Rangers came and took him by the hand, said, "Come play, my bonny laddie, for the best team in the land." And after Berwick, well, the Rangers' loss became the Rangers' gain. It was the start of many glorious happy years that he would reign. Simon, Thornton, Waddle, Wallace, Gregg and White all knew this boy could play the game, he'd be their shining light. With the leagues and cups and caps he won, all the trophies he'd accrue, what stood out most and sums him up, integrity showed through. And in the end, when darkness fell, the Ibrox torch he held, he'd keep the club he loved alive, they never would be quelled. He marched and led 10,000, yes, the way he played the game, with class and quiet distinction, put those enemies to shame. So look out to the governed stand and see the name that's there. Remember a courageous, gracious, special Rangers player. God bless Sandy Jardine, whose light shone in the dark, and whose spirit plays beside the Gers each week at Ibrox Park.